Welcome to the Personal Injury Marketing Minute, where we quickly cover the hot topics in the legal marketing world. I'm your host, Lindsay Busfield. As an SEO agency, we can help make your phone ring. But after your team picks up, it is on you and your intake team to close the deal. Far too often, we see law firms making major mistakes at the finish line. Whether the intake team isn't providing the right information, isn't connecting emotionally to a prospective client who's in crisis mode, or simply isn't picking up the phone, balls get dropped and money gets lost. Intake expert Chris Mullins joins us today as we continue our Spotlight on PILMMA series. She will be speaking on the intake panel at PILMMA in Denver next week. We are so excited to have her back on the show to share her insights to effective intake. Thank you so much for joining us again today, Chris.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Lindsay. Thank you very much.
For those who haven't listened to your earlier podcast with us, tell us a little bit about yourself and the service you provide for law firms.
Okay, so I've been working with law firms for 30 years. I think I heard Ken say once, the godmother of intake. And when I heard that, I thought, is that a good thing? I don't know, godmother. I kind of get it, but you know what I mean. So, yeah, for 30 years now and focusing on intake, but the way we focus on it is sales. So teaching and guiding them that the S word sales is not a bad word. The S word scripts is not bad, but you really are doing it. You just didn't know it. And so now we're going to help you really do it, which means you're creating a great relationship.
And that's where it starts, as it starts with these relationships. And you are essentially helping these intake specialists become intake sales specialists. So let's talk a bit about this role. What is the role of the intake specialist, and maybe how has it evolved over the past 20 years that you've seen?
Yeah, I think, well, if you want to talk about like where it started, I believe it's kind of like this still some days. Well, sometimes I'm not really thrilled about, but we'll get there. We're reception. You know, we have the receptionist be the receptionist and the intake specialist and the butcher, baker, candlestick maker. I mean, you name it. It is still like that at some firms, but the intake sales specialist of today, they handle inbound and outbound prospective client calls. That's what they do. So the law firm spends, huge sums of money on marketing and to get the prospective clients to raise their hand, to opt in, whether it's chat or email or digital leads or phone calls. And then the role of the intake specialist is to very, very quickly get those calls, create a great experience, find out if that person qualifies that this law firm, can in fact help them. And if so, convert them on what we call a one-call close. Don't hang up without signing them up.
Yes. And that entire process is so essential to the growth of the law firm, because clearly if your intake specialist drops the ball, then all of the money that you just spent on marketing to get that person to opt in is out the window. And we have definitely seen this role evolve from the receptionist to now having a dedicated specialist for this position. And one of the other changes that we have seen over the past several years, and really in the past 5 to 10 years in particular, are law firms outsourcing intake. And whether it's a virtual receptionist or a virtual intake company, what challenges have you seen as more law firms have moved in that direction?
Well, so I'll say a couple things. So if we're talking about the traditional call center / answering service, so that's one area. And the challenge with that is that call center and or answering service, they might be focused on only law firms, but you're not the only law firm. And so it's it's a very necessary business, but it's a very difficult business because there's a lot of manual labor. There's just a lot of moving parts, and they want to do the very best, but they've got one set of scripts and rules for one law firm and then another and another and another. So, I mean, just logically, you don't even have to dig deeper to find out that that's just not really going to be the best experience for your firm. And then we have the whole movement of virtual remote folks not, in other countries that we're hiring. And I think that's great. I think that's perfect. because they can be your team members. So you don't need the answering service and call center anymore. You could have your own 24/7 remote virtual team. That's really what the answering service is doing. You might as well just have your own team. They just don't work in your office, and they only handle you. They only take care of you. So I think it's really, really great and important. But if someone said, well, what do you think's better, remote or in-house? At the end of the day, if you can have your team in-house, that's always the best. But if you can't for any reason or don't want to, this still works. But you have to do your due diligence with hiring, attracting, training. You still have to pay attention to those details when they're remote, just like you have to do when they're in-house.
And that's a great point because so much of the corporate culture comes through working together and having a cohesive management front. And so it goes beyond just having the right person in place. You can have the best person in the world, but if you haven't trained them on your core values and your mission and help them to align their workflow with your vision, it still isn't going to be the best way to service your clients.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the pieces that we've talked about before is this role of empathy. And going back to what you're talking about with having different scripts, I would imagine that it would be really difficult for an outsourced agency that is handling multiple law firms to really be able to focus their tone and their empathy if they are so focused on balancing different scripts. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's definitely very challenging, but it's the same type of challenge that your own in-house team has or your own virtual team has because uh, the person, the human, regardless of where they come from, is focused on getting things done. Like check, 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 question, question, question. Hurry up, hurry up. The next call's coming. That's what they're focused on. That's what they're consumed by. And you really want it the other way around. You want them to learn how to focus on the person, the conversation, what they're saying, how they sound, how they're breathing, what they're not saying. Um, Put your energy there, and then all the other steps kind of like just fall in place. And so if that's the focus and if that's how they're trained, they can do it. The folks that are not trained that way, they can still create those new habits and behaviors, but it takes time. It takes time and it's a building process. It doesn't happen overnight.
And it sounds like there's a real balance there between maintaining professionalism while still being emotionally supportive with clients and having that emotional piece being forward. You're going to get them to connect with you. You're going to get them to sign the contract, and all of the other details and information will come naturally in that process.
Mhm.
But clearly there needs to be some balance there to make sure that you do have that connecting piece first. And so let's go back to this idea of hiring the right people. What should a law firm be looking for as they hire intake specialists?
Yeah, so when you're looking for intake sales specialists, no matter where they are, not in any special order, but folks that they were brought up in a family business is perfect because they're hard workers and usually they're put to work by their parents. They've come from a farm, they worked on a farm, they come from a farm, they lived on a farm, same kind of thing. The restaurant business, that is long hours, holidays, crazy hours, and you mostly pay, let's just say commission, right? But it's your tips. That's how you live. So you have to work really hard to pay your bills. And so the folks that work as a bartender or in the restaurant business, they get that. And also that business, they talk about metrics. They talk about sales. They talk about upselling. They talk about cross-selling. So and it's physically difficult, labor-intensive work. So that's perfect because that's the kind of person that you want. Retail business, same thing. On your feet, constant, long hours, metrics, constantly talking about it, KPIs, talk about all the time. You know, they have to run around and go and sell certain clothes and it doesn't, or whatever the product is. So those are the people, they're already used to that. They understand it and they've proven that they can work hard. That's perfect. But even teachers, So I have found that a lot of my clients have teachers as intake sales specialists. They were teachers and also as attorneys and paralegals. And it's very, very common. I don't really know if anybody's really paid attention to it, but teachers are a great market to attract. You just want to write your advertising to the teachers or to the restaurants or to the retail businesses. So those are great areas too. And then even like the financial businesses. So the insurance and financial, long hours on your feet, putting together all kinds of meet and greets, and you're mostly paid by your commissions and your bonuses. And the people that really are very, very good at that, they get tired and they're ready for something different. So they could step down to this, but still use all those skills.
Well, and I think it's interesting that you brought up teachers. I used to be a teacher. That was my first real big girl job. And I can absolutely understand why a teacher would make a great intake specialist. They are used to connecting with people. The whole reason they got into the profession was because of the relationships that they want to form with other people. And then they have to be data driven. They have to meet certain metrics and educational benchmarks. So they understand the importance of having that data, and that is just built into their nature. And so
Exactly.
somebody who has been drawn already to that type of profession would make a great intake specialist.
Yeah, it's all about performance, and it's really perfect. And obviously, I mean, call centers, customer service, sales, same reasons. They all work very, very well.
Absolutely.
Mm.
So once you get a great team in place, what should the training process look like for intake specialists? And should that training be ongoing?
Oh yeah, so well, training should be ongoing for everybody in your firm. Call it refresher, you can call it whatever you want, but everybody forgets when Friday comes around and you have the weekend, by the time they come to work on Monday, they forgot everything that happened prior to Monday. So it's just natural. So you've got to keep doing refreshers all the time. And then every time your firm changes your direction, whatever it is, even if it's just technology, you got to have training for that so everybody knows. But for the intake sales team, I like to have everybody start with the technology first. You know, understand the technology, understand that part, consume and learn that, and practice learning it. Have like a dry run, you know, floor where you get to actually work and practice using the technology. And then you can teach them about the human side, their behavior, relationships, love, care, and concern, empathy. Then you can teach them about the sales part. That doesn't come right away. That comes after. What is sales? How do you do sales? But of course, you also want to teach them about your firm. And I don't think a lot of firms do that. Why was your firm started? Who started it? How long has it been in business? What's the real story? What's behind all that? Do you know everybody in the firm as far as at least the attorneys? Do you know their backgrounds? Do you know their names? Can you say to Ms. Mullins on the phone, you're going to love Attorney Smith. He's amazing. You're going to love him.
Wow.
So that's just a quick answer for you, Lindsay.
No, I love that. And I think that that's a piece that a lot of law firms overlook because the intake specialist is the first introduction that people are having to the law firm. And so this person needs to be friendly, love, care, and concern, and be knowledgeable about all of the inner workings of the law firm itself that the client is going to have to interact with. So if
Yeah.
they have questions, whether it is about the process of a personal injury case or about the attorney that they're about to trust with a major life decision, that
Right.
intake specialist needs to know what's going on.
Yeah, 100%. And let me just say something else too, that the 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 intake sales team just needs to be taught and understand that the desired outcome of all your communication moments with a prospective client is to know them enough, to build a relationship enough, to ask the questions so that you can convert them, so that you can, at the end of the day, help them. We can't help anybody if we don't sign them up. So it is okay to ask them to sign up before you hang up. It's okay to do that. But then the other side of it too is that um, the the intake sales specialist, they need to be integrated with the rest of the firm. And the firm needs to be, attorneys and paralegals integrated with them and, attend everybody's training sessions. Paralegals attend intake attends it. You don't have to do it all the time, but it's a great way to get to know each other and break bread and build a relationship, all of that. And then the last area is I haven't heard of any firm yet. They probably do it, but I haven't heard of a firm yet that for onboarding, they actually teach the intake sales specialist not just the types of cases, but the types of conversations you will have because of those cases and the types of terms that can come up and the things that you need to be educated on and know. You don't have to be a doctor, but there are medical terms that you're going to hear. And if you don't know what it really means, you're not going to be able to be real or genuine or focused or present so that
That's
you
a
can,
great point.
yeah,
And that's absolutely something that every intake sales specialist should know, just some basic medical terminology and how cases are going to be different because a motorcycle accident injury case is going to have different injuries that come up than a truck accident case.
right.
Or if somebody has lost a loved one and has a wrongful death case,
Mhm.
knowing the different terminology and different concerns and pain points that a prospective client is going to have coming from any of these horrific life events, you need to know how to have a conversation, how to ask follow-up questions, and how to empathize and build
Yeah,
that relationship.
yeah, 100%, 100%.
And so with this, we all love hearing a good horror story. What are some of the bigger what are some of the biggest mistakes that
Um,
you have seen in intake?
okay, so I will share this one with you, and I'm actually going to play this call recording at PILMMA
All right.
that I'm gonna tell you about. And so so it's a real client prospect call recording that I'll play. We don't identify the name of the firm or anything. It's very short, but um, a mom called because her daughter was in an accident and she has a traumatic brain injury. It was just like a few days earlier, and she's in a coma. And besides the fact there was no empathy or anything like that, which is obviously, a horror story, but the intake sales specialist, when the mom said that she's in a coma, he said, well, so maybe she needs a day of rest, or something, because we do need, since she is the person that is we're going to be representing, we do need her to sign.
Oh,
My
God.
point is, I mean, I don't even have to go further, but my point is that goes back to what I said a little while ago. This young man did not, he just he didn't connect the dots. There's all kinds of reasons for that. We don't need to get into that, but he didn't connect the dots. I mean, the coma is it's a coma, and
Right.
he didn't understand that. And so he kept saying things that made no sense at all. And the mom was like, okay, wait a minute, I'm going to stop you right there. She can't sign anything. She can't do anything. And then he said something like, well, what about a power of attorney? Um, so yeah, and so and it's true. It's definitely true. And so yeah, there's other stories, but that one is the first thing that came to my mind when you asked me that question. Um,
And
yeah.
it's just heartbreaking for the mother, as well as I am sure the attorney, once they listened to that call, was absolutely mortified. Uh, but man, I know that these calls happen all the time. I have listened to ones where a mother had lost her son in a motorcycle accident, and the intake specialist just said, "Okay, can I have your phone number?" And the mother's like, I just bared my soul to you, and all you
Yeah,
care about is my contact information.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And it's heart-wrenching because these are the worst days of these people's
I know.
lives.
I know, but I do want to say though that the responsibility lies with the firm, top down. The intake sales specialists they got chosen for a job, but they got chosen by us, the law firm. So we didn't choose right, which means we probably didn't do disc assessments or personality assessments or quizzes or anything. But we also, in this example, didn't do any training or due diligence with training. And we're not listening to calls and monitoring, because if we were, then that wouldn't happen. That kind of thing wouldn't happen.
Yes. And I appreciate the work that you do, because you are helping these law firms get the right training and processes in place, getting the right people in place, and all of that helps to serve clients and communities who are in distress and are going through these traumatic events in life. So thank you for the work that you do. And I'm looking forward to hearing more from your discussion at PILMMA. So tell me, what are you looking forward to most about PILMMA?
So I actually enjoy very much the panels. I used to do the speaking side, like not the panel, and I'm okay with that too. But I really enjoy the panels. It feels like you're given more meat. It's just the way it feels. But I like I like meeting everybody. I like seeing the people that I know before, and finding out how they're growing and what they're learning. I'm looking forward to hearing about AI more, like some real good information that can be applied right away, and examples on different firms using it, because I completely support it. And also YouTube, and how you can use YouTube in your business. I'm pretty sure that's what I heard. So at a minimum, that's really it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there are going to be a lot of great speakers, a lot of great information, and I cannot wait to see you out in Denver.
Same here. Thank you so much.